Namaskar. Have you seen God? The question was rare, but the doubt about the supreme reality was already gaining grounds. Such were the times.
Following the Battle of 1757 at Plassey and 1764 at Buxar, the British had complete control over the Bengal province and were quickly gaining control over the entire country.
And with each winning step, their ill intention of a white supremacy, wicked desire of deceitful, forceful spread of Christianity through the authority of the church was becoming clearly visible.
Bharat had already witnessed and suffered the tearing apart of its social, cultural, and religious fabric at the hands of Muslim invaders and rulers. And now, after the entry of the British and Christianity, it was time for the common man to lose his faith.
Come 19th century, and the mellified seed of casteism had already been sown by the British, a fact that is taught to us in an inverted order, that our society already had the disease of casteism, a thorough lie, much like a widespread, prevalent practice of sati, which otherwise had no mention in our history before the arrival of the British, and a similar strategized and systematic attack on our millennia-old brilliant education system.
And the last nail, the most painful wound, was their belittling and ridiculing of our understanding of God and our ways of achieving God realization. In short, a direct attack on our faith by the missionaries, an attack on our spirituality, a concept that was alien to them and their practices.
Such were the times that a common man, a common youth who had otherwise seen poverty and hunger right from the birth, thanks to the unabashed loot by the Muslim invaders and the British, found respite in the slavery of the British, in the service of His Highness. And the urban, polished, and educated youth was the one who mimicked the British in every aspect of life. Conversing in English was a mere display. Such were the times.
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. The situation was the same. Adharma was widespread. A soul that was born as a human to acquire, to attain God, had lost its path. The soul required salvation, this time spiritual. Abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. It was time for yet another show. It was time for Kali, for Krishna, and for Ram to manifest their powers. This time, in the form of pure love, pure devotion, it was time for Shri Ramkrishna Paramhans.
These serious stories begin.
This is not going to be a regular commentary on the life of Shri Ramakrishna. We are going to talk about the mystical experiences, the spiritual experiences of one of the greatest devotees of Kali. And why we chose it would be evident soon.
Shri Ramakrishna, at a very young age, attained the 8, the Ashtasiddhis of yoga through Tantra. And yet, he propagated and believed in the Advaita Siddhant too, which is the concept of only one Parabrahma. And yet, he would spend hours decorating and worshipping the idol of his mother, Kali. Interesting and mystical indeed.
That was his reality. That is the reality. And his first tryst with the ultimate reality happened when he had not even touched his teenage. He was living in his birthplace in a small village called Kamarpukur in the Hooghly district, when one day, on the auspicious occasion of Shivaratri, a play was to be performed in his village.
As destiny were to have it, the main actor, the boy who was to play the role of Shiva in this play, fell ill. Now Gadadhar, the childhood name of Shri Ramakrishna, was a boy of sharp mind and profound memory. His father, being a priest, often was accompanied by several traveling saints, and hence he had exposure to listening to a lot of stories from the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Not a surprise that Gadadhar actually had memorized several stories from the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, along with which he also knew several hymns, thus making him the obvious choice to play the role of Shiva and save the play too.
Gadadhar gladly accepted and soon began his dressing up for the role as Shiva. The matting of his hair, the smearing of his body with ashes, him holding a trident in a hand and wearing a string of Rudraksh beads around his neck. The boy, merely 10, went into a trance. For the world, he became absent-minded.
He approached the stage with a slow walk, supported by his friends. At first, the audience was spellbound by what they thought was a performance. But soon they realized that this boy was in a meditative state. He was radiating, and although he was in a state of trance, tears rolled down from his eyes.
Some elderly men in the audience went ahead and touched his feet. Everyone was mesmerized. But when the boy did not move an inch for a long time, the play stopped. He had to be lifted and brought back home. Gadadhar came back to his normal self only the next morning.
We now move to Calcutta, to the Dakshineswar temple, to the temple of Kali, created by Rani Rasmani and taken care of by her son-in-law, Mathur Mohanji. This was the place where Gadadhar was to become a Paramhans, an enlightened soul.
As experienced by many present during the daily ceremonies, while performing the rites of Ma Kali, Shri Ramakrishna would glow, and the atmosphere of the temple would become intense. In the words of Shri Ramakrishna, he would feel through the different chakras of the body the rising of the mystic Kundalini.
These experiences kindled a yearning for a vision of the Mother of the Universe. He would spend hours, sometimes several nights, in meditation. The longing to meet Kali in person grew day by day. While singing songs of her praise, sometimes he would burst out crying.
He felt the pangs of a child separated from its mother. So much so that he would rub his face against the ground and weep and cry so loudly that the people present at that time would think that he has actually lost his mother. They would go and sympathize with him.
The most astounding aspect of our culture definitely lies in our Vedas and our Upanishads. But an even more interesting aspect that makes the Vedas and the Upanishads the ultimate words of wisdom lies the desire to know the truth, the desire to seek answers through questions.
Shri Ramakrishna would ask these questions to his mother, to Kali herself. Are you true? Do you really exist? Or is it just fiction? Your prayers, are they just poetry? Are you a figment of human imagination? He would cry. For the world, he started behaving abnormally.
But when a child cries, how can a mother not come? So Shri Ramakrishna had his first vision of Ma Kali. During the many moments of him crying to meet Ma Kali in person, his passion to do so grew so strongly that he ended up grabbing a sword kept in the temple, and he decided to end his life right there.
And that's when the Divine Mother revealed herself. As described by Shri Ramakrishna, the temple, the walls, the building, everything vanished. He saw the limitless and infinite ocean of consciousness. There were shining waves of energy rushing towards him with a terrific noise. He started panting and collapsed. And that was the start of his spiritual journey called consciousness, the bliss.
Now, like a child, he wanted to constantly meet the mother, Kali, not only in his meditative state, but also with his eyes wide open. During his spiritual practices, he had many such experiences. As soon as he would sit in his meditative state, often he would hear a strange clicking sound in the joints of his legs, as though locking him in that position. And as soon as he would come back to his normal state, he would hear the same clicking sound in the joints of his legs once again, this time unlocking him.
The visions became frequent, and now even with open eyes. Many had seen him talking, laughing, joking, dancing with the idol of Kali. For them, he was becoming mad. For him, he was in the divine company of his mother, in the divine lap of his mother. Often at night, he would hear footsteps, as if somebody was going upstairs. But these were light steps of a happy girl. He would hear the jingling of anklets, and when he would follow the sound, he would see a girl standing with flowing hair, looking at the holy Ganga.
During this tenure of meditation, he developed a strange burning sensation in his body. It lasted several days. Thereafter, once when he was in his deep meditative state, he saw a red-eyed, black-complexioned man come out of his body. He looked drunk, and then came out another man dressed in bhagwa, holding a trident. Shri Ramakrishna saw this saint dressed in bhagwa kill this drunk, red-eyed, black-complexioned man. Thereafter, when he gained his normal state once again, Ramakrishna experienced no pain. All the pain and the burning sensation in his body had disappeared.
The temple caretakers had developed deep regards for Shri Ramakrishna, but they were worried about his growing, weird behavior. So they brought another priest, somebody who knew all the rituals. This man was Shri Ramakrishna's own distant cousin.
This priest disapproved of the ways of Shri Ramakrishna. In one of the discussions, he made a statement that God cannot be comprehended by a human mind. Now, this statement greatly affected Kali's child. He had heard many people say similar things about him on several other occasions.
Thus began another round of questioning, this time about himself. Am I going mad? Am I a fool? At that very moment, the room was filled with mist rising from the floor. From nowhere emerged from the mist a face with flowing beard, with calm composure. The face was highly expressive. The man said, "Remain in Bhavamukh, on the threshold of consciousness." He repeated that 3 times and then disappeared. This strange incident with an even stranger man reassured Shri Ramakrishna.
Later in his life, through divine interventions, he got initiated into Tantra. He practiced all the disciplines mentioned in the 64 principal books of Tantra, such as Tara Tantra, Shiv Tantra, and each time he took not more than 3 days to attain the desired results.
During one of the processes, he first heard the Anahat Shabd, Om, and then he saw a huge, luminous triangle giving birth to a new world every moment. And then he saw Maya, the Shakti of Parabrahm. He saw a beautiful, pregnant woman emerge from the Ganga and enter the garden where he would often meditate. There, first she gave birth to a child. She nursed him, fed him, and then the next moment, she crushed that very child with her own jaws. And then she re-entered the Ganga. It was a display of the game of Maya.
During the same period of his Tantra sadhana, he experienced the awakening of the mystical Kundalini, one of the most astonishing spiritual experiences described by Shri Ramakrishna was during the time that he was learning Advait with his guru, with his stern guru, Totapuri.
For the initiation process, Totapuri asked Shri Ramakrishna to withdraw his mind from all the objects of this relative world, including the gods and the goddesses. But how could a child take his mind off his own mother? Shri Ramakrishna expressed his inability. The guru disapproved. The disciple tried again, but failed.
Totapuri was a stern guru. He would not accept Shri Ramakrishna's failures. He looked around and picked up a piece of glass and stuck it right between Shri Ramakrishna's eyebrows and said, "Concentrate the mind here." This time, when Kali appeared, Shri Ramakrishna, with his mind, cut Kali into 2, and that very moment, he went into Samadhi.
The state of his Samadhi continued for 3 continuous days. His guru was surprised beyond words. "Miracle," he said. "What took me 40 years, he achieved in 1 day. This is a miracle." Sometime later, he entered into a state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi for 6 continuous months at a stretch. A state that cannot be achieved by an ordinary yogi. The body would collapse within 3 weeks. His body was still and was kept alive by a God-sent monk. Kali instructed Shri Ramakrishna not to enter the Nirvikalpa Samadhi anymore, but to remain at the threshold of relative consciousness, in the Bhavamukh. she instructed Shri Ramakrishna not to enter the seventh chakra anymore, but to focus on the sixth. Shri Ramakrishna would often oscillate back and forth. This is a unique experience not known by many yogis in the history of spirituality.
He was asked to remain at the threshold by Kali herself, as there was work for her son to do. There are numerous such experiences of Sri Ramakrishna, but here we need to speak of something unique about him. As a guru, something that is rarely found in the history of spirituality.
For this, let's go back to the first question. Have you seen God? This question, Narendra, Swami Vivekananda would ask to every person claiming to be a guru. The answer would always be a no. Sri Ramakrishna, when asked the same question, said yes. This surprised, this shocked Swami Vivekananda, as he expected the same answer as before. And what put Swami Vivekananda in total disbelief was when Sri Ramakrishna said, "With my eyes open, as clearly as I am seeing you, and I can even make you see him."
This is why Kali asked Ramakrishna to hang in there. Many devoted, totally absorbed and powerful gurus had seen God. But how many could make a common man see the ultimate? He changed many otherwise ordinary disciples into mature spiritual seekers through direct exposure to the ultimate reality. These divine seekers, these spiritual seekers, would in future propagate the word of Sri Ramakrishna, the word of Kali herself.
Bharat, at that time, required spiritual awakening among masses, a job assigned to Sri Ramakrishna. The task and the performer, both chosen by Kali.
In his book, The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Nikhilanand rightly mentions Sri Ramakrishna as the inner soul of Bharat. Ramakrishna opened the door to possibilities through pure love and devotion, for he was the epitome of love, and only through love can possibilities be manifested.
His experiences are to be known, to be understood, as this is the time, right now, for the masses to ascend themselves. The pandemic has brought the fake world of money, fame, and name to the ground. This is the golden time to rise to the higher realms of self-realization. In the name and wisdom of Shri Ramakrishna Paramhans, and in the words of Swami Vivekananda, rise, awaken, O India, Uttashta Bharata.
A DC where stories begin.